Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day today, this fine Saturday. We have Bradley here from the War of Rights development team to answer a bunch of questions that you, the community, have put forth. We had over 313 responses, about 350 questions in total that we've gone through, and we've condensed it down a lot so that we can get a lot of your questions answered. I appreciate it a lot. So, with that being said, please like, comment, share, subscribe for more. Go to the link in the description. Join us on Discord. Support us on Patreon. You can get behind the scenes videos and videos before everyone else. On top of that, you can join this Discord call that we're in right now and listen live and chat with other people in the Discord call, or of course the YouTube live stream chat. So, with that all being said, Bradley, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me on. My name is Bradley. I'm a PhD student in history, and I'm also a video game developer. For anybody that doesn't know, Campfire Games, we're the creator of War of Rights. It's a historical first-person shooter set during the Maryland campaign of 1862.
And yeah, I appreciate you being on here a lot. It'll mean a lot to myself and plenty of other people in the community as we all have a bunch of questions that I want answered. So, with that being said, how this is going to work today is we're going to start with some personal questions from Bradley, kind of warm things up, see who is Bradley. And then we will start with smaller things in the game, like horses, artillery, map creation, and then kind of go out to the broader scale questions of War of Rights. So, with that being said, we're going to have some personal questions here from Bradley. So, what brought you into the developer team for War of Rights?
I don't know if my story is unique for Campfire Games, but I was actually a player before I was a developer of War of Rights. Um, I think I first got into the game December 2017, thereabouts. I was perusing YouTube and saw a video, uh, like a channel by this guy named General Cody HD, and saw his videos, War of Rights, fell in love with it. I had to get it. So I got on the crowdfunder, and I just kind of incrementally increased my pledge. I was I think a brigadier general pledge of the game. So I was a player first. That's kind of an important part of my story. That way, I can blame the other devs about stuff that happened before I was here, right? Um, but my job is first as a texture artist, and that kind of started as a freelance. I remember I spawned in. I think it was at the Orchard as an Eighth Florida Infantry flag bearer. I saw the flag and I thought this could be a lot better. And so I submitted my own texture to Campfire Games, and they accepted it. And that kind of began this short career as a freelance artist. I had different clans in the community commission me to do flags, and then we would donate that flag to Campfire Games until finally CG just said, "Look, we're going to bring you on onto the team." So that's how I got started.
That's pretty cool to hear. I myself as well, General Cody, I saw his videos that got me interested in the game. It's great. So, what feature of War of Rights do you like the most?
That's such a tough one. Um, as a Civil War historian, for me, what's important is accuracy, and when we can't do accuracy, then at least authenticity. So for me, my favorite feature is just spawning in as a common infantryman and getting a glimpse of what linear combat in the Civil War must have been like. And of course, we only have a fraction of an idea of what it was like, the smoke and just the horror of the shells going off and mini balls buzzing overhead. That's my favorite feature is we're trying to get as close as we can to that experience.
So, you mentioned that you made flags. So, what's the process of making these historical flags and how long does it take to make them?
Well, it begins with research. We're actually really fortunate Americans to have. By the way, I'm not Danish. If you didn't notice, we're very fortunate here in the states. We have a lot of Civil War flags that are still extant. Um, there are archives in different states that hold sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds of Civil War flags. So, step one for me when we identify a regiment that needs a flag is I go to the archives and hope that they will have a flag from the Maryland campaign of 1862 or before. And if they do, then normally there's a pretty tedious process of getting in touch with the curators, and there's licensing agreements to acquire high resolution images. And then I have to sometimes explain what it is that I do as a video game developer. What I do is art, and there's a different license agreement for art than there is to simply take a picture of an artifact and put it on the cover of a book. So it's a long process. Matter of fact, I've been working with I want to say Wisconsin now for I guess 3 months, just trading emails to kind of figure out what it is we need and what we need to do to get it. Um, but yeah, research comes first. If there isn't an extant flag, then I have to look around for any period photographs, or sometimes there might be, say, an etching or something, maybe in Harper's Weekly that features the flag. It's a long process to try to verify what flag might have been carried by a regiment at any given time, and then narrow it down to the Maryland campaign. That makes it even more challenging. Um, if I can't find anything at all, um, as far as an illustration or an actual artifact, then I go into the regimental histories and look for clues as to what they may have carried. Sometimes a regimental history will say that we received a beautiful blue stand of colors. On one side was the state coat of arms, and on the other side was the federal coat of arms. Little descriptions like that may mean very little to some people, but to someone that's studied in vexillology and the study of flags, I can almost visualize what that should look like. Um, Sometimes there might be just a single sentence in a diary or a newspaper. A couple of examples of that. The Wheat's Tigers, I think it was the Tiger Rifleman. There's one fraction of a sentence that says that they had a flag with a cajoling lamb, and above it, as it says, as gentle as. So that's all I had to work with. And so the flag that you see for Wheat's Tigers, that baby blue flag with the lamb, it's based on a description, but only a minor description. Another example would be the 8th Alabama Stars and Bars. The only thing that we have for that is a nurse. Her name was Kate Cumming. She wrote a letter, or maybe it's a diary entry. I don't remember, where she says that it's a Confederate flag, and on the stars and bars is a portrait of George Washington, and on the reverse is some kind of Irish iconography. So that's the research. And do I need to go into how to actually create it? The artwork side. Does anybody care?
I mean, if you want to, I doesn't matter to me.
Okay, yeah. So, um, all of my flags are basically a 4K resolution. They're very high resolution. If you were to zoom in, you would see that every single stitch just about is hand drawn into the flag. I spend a lot of time. You asked how long. Um, a lot of hours is kind of the short answer for that. What's really heartbreaking is sometimes I will have so many layers of textures that my Photoshop just crashes, even with autosave. There will be times when I'll lose 40 minutes worth of work because the flag size is so huge. I mean, we're talking about one of my PSD files is over a gig for just a simple battle flag.
Wow, that's crazy. Who knew that such a simple thing like a flag could take so many hours of work and research? That's amazing to hear. That's very cool. Out of all the flags you've made in War of Rights, what's your favorite one?
Oh, that's a tough one. I get asked that all the time, and I think I always change my answer. Um, right now, I'm loving the flags carried mostly by New York regiments, um, made by a company called Tiffany and Company. It's still extant. It's in New York City. Those flags are fully embroidered and they are beautiful. Um, there's another company in New York that did flags um, by Ball and Black and Sons, I think it is called. I can't remember. They're kind of a competitor to Tiffany and Company. And if you remember I think it's the 52nd New York, the scarlet flag on one side, and then on the other side, it's sort of an ivory cream with a lady riding on a bald eagle. That is a flag by a lady named Francisca Klein, and it is just beautiful. It is still excellent. The New York State Museum has it, and I think right now that's my favorite. Also, one of the hardest ones that I had to do. Took the longest amount of time.
Yeah, that's fair. So let's start getting into questions of War of Rights. Obviously, the most pressing issue. About a third of the Google form responses that I had were about horses. So, is there an ETA on horses, or is it still it's going to get done when it gets done?
Yeah, our policy is we'll never give an ETA. I don't even give ETAs on flags. Um, it's just it's not good for business to predict when you'll have something done because any kind of hiccup can set us back for a good amount of time. I remember one time I told somebody I was going to have a correction to a flag, probably in a few days for the next patch, and I didn't get it done on time, and I got called a liar for it. Just making a small adjustment. So yeah, we don't give ETAs, and especially on something like horses, the amount of work involved is staggering to me. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a coder. I don't work in animation. I don't have a whole lot to do with the horses. I've ridden the horse, um, but yeah, we're not ready for an ETA, and the horses will be here soon, is what I've been saying for the last what uh, 2 years, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's entirely fair and understandable. Are you able to say, progress wise, how far have horses gone?
Um, it's funny what I saw. I thought, man, this looks amazing. You know, um, but there's a lot involved mechanically speaking, because we're not just going to have horses um, for the officers to sit on top of and look pretty, right? The horse is going to be, functional vehicles, so to speak. They're going to be dragging limbers and guns around. There's so much involved that I have very little to do with. Um, they looked really good to me. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Oh, I mean, you know what you know. That's fair enough. So, what are the current issues, if you know, what are the current issues and challenges that the team is facing when it comes to implementing this in the game? Like any big specific ones?
Well, you know, I spy on their chat and try to make sense of the things that they're dealing with out of my own personal curiosity, and most of it I don't understand at all. Every once in a while they'll post an illustration of the issue, and then I can look at it and say, oh, okay, yeah. um, but yeah, I wouldn't be at liberty to detail their issues because I don't understand half of their lingo.
Yeah, that is fair. So, some questions that I got were how is Cavalry going to work in the game? So, for example, let me see here. So, is there going to be like a cap to how many horses are there on a map? If like a player dies, will their horse just like roam around the battlefield? Can people hop on it? Like, how many shots will it take to kill a horse? Stuff like that. How much do you know about that, or how much are you allowed to say?
um, all of those are really good questions, and kind of what I would say is I would encourage you guys in the community to speculate on that yourselves, right? I think that can be really useful as a developer to see, what are people thinking as to how this is going to work. I can't give any kind of details about, what happens, how many bullets it takes to kill a horse, that sort of thing. I can't go there, but I would encourage y'all, talk about that, speculate about it. We'll watch.
So, is there a good place to do that? Just the War of Rights community Discord? Is that the best place to talk about ideas and such?
Yeah, our community Discord, and we've been thinking about maybe setting up a channel for suggestions that would be threaded. Look, I don't know how to use Discord except to post memes and comments, but we're talking about maybe setting up our Discord so that we could talk about that without having it interrupted with, you know, regular day kind of discussion.
Yeah, that is fair. So that's generally all the questions we have about horses. So we're going to move on to map creation now. Shepherdstown's been talked about for a long time. Do you have any idea of the progress of Shepherdstown?
We're kind of at, I guess you would say, the conceptual stage. Over here on my desk, I've got a book about cement mills at Shepherdstown, which is fully illustrated, has photographs of the mill. So I guess we're at the concept slash early research stage. Um, it's below horses in terms of priority, so we won't get there yet.
No, that's fair. Another possible priority was the map creator. Uh, we've seen a little bit about it. So, what's the progress with the map creator?
I have nothing on that. Not a thing. I don't even peek in on what they're talking about for that. So sorry, I can't I can't say
Uh,
anything about Map Editor.
hey, no, that's perfectly fine. Cool. So, one question is that we've had the same, 33 some maps for the past couple years now. Have the devs talked about adding new skirmish maps to each of the three map packs that we currently have? Because obviously there are many skirmish maps that are ahistorical, stuff that didn't happen. A lot of the Harper's Ferry maps didn't happen. Has there ever been talk of adding new skirmish areas uh, to increase replayability?
We haven't really talked about that just yet, just because our focus is on you know getting horses out and other things going on too. Um, what I would like to see, just as a player talking here, is even if we didn't have brand new skirmish areas, it would be kind of nice, wouldn't it, to sort of reframe the spawn areas, just sort of shift it a few degrees left or right. I think in a lot of cases, say for Dunker Church, if we kind of expanded it just a little bit, or rotated it a little bit more west, what would that look like? How would it play? That'd be kind of neat, and it wouldn't require maybe a whole lot of work for the team.
Yeah, that's great. That answered another one of my questions as well. So one last question about maps and their creation and such. So as of now, Antietam, the in-game map, it's the full Battle of Antietam. The in-game maps, they're all scrunched together, but there's a lot of area in between maps that aren't in the in-game map. Is there any plan to make a one-to-one scale of Antietam? And is there a possibility to have a mode where you could just have a battlefield tour, walk around without being shot at?
Really early on, if I remember right, uh, way back in the crowdfunding days, I think CG had talked about kind of a walking battlefield tour type thing, or maybe the community was just asking for that. I remember that a long time ago, 3 4 years ago. Um, I don't know if that's technically possible, but I think it'd be really neat to roam around the battlefield and just kind of see things without having to worry about being counted out of line, or being shot by somebody. I think that'd be really neat. But as far as a battlefield one-to-one scale, I don't know if that's technically possible. I don't know.
Is it due to limitations with CryEngine, or is it just not a priority?
I would say a little. It's probably a hardware thing, but again, we optimize. Every update has had just incredible optimization. Um, But this is all speculative for me. I really don't know. It wouldn't be a priority, I would think, anytime soon.
Yeah, I'd agree. I appreciate the optimization updates. It makes spectating battles a little a little nicer to look at in the grand scheme of things. So, speaking of spectator, a couple questions I had was when you're in spectator mode, the out of bounds of the map still applies to the spectator. Has there been any thought of removing that out of bounds for spectators so spectators can see charges better? Because, like, for example, on Bloody Lane, Sunken Lane, that map, Union will generally spawn in, go to their left, charge at the CSA on the CSA far right. And if the spectator cam tries to go to the left any amount from the Union point of view, the Spectre cam is out of bounds. It pops up, and you can't see the charge that well. Is there any thought of removing the out of bounds for spectators?
I basically I want to do anything that makes spectator more attractive, and so if we were able to somehow expand out of bounds for the spectator, we've also talked about how can we improve the UI features for people like yourself, Eagle, that have this kind of this whole network geared towards spectator view. Um, I was one of the main people on the team that was really pushing for those camera options, for example. I'd like to see that even more robust than it is now. So, yeah, I think that's a possibility for sure.
Cool. One other recommendation I have is when artillery is taken over by the other team, that message just pops up on your screen. Even if you have no HUD off or HUD turned to off, that artillery stuff still pops up. So that's just something I
Yeah,
wanted to say
I have actually that exact issue. I've
there.
made a note of that to hopefully get that out of there.
So cool. So we're gonna switch over to G Portal servers and the admin panel server settings. So, is there any plans to add a more diverse weather system into server admin control? What I mean by that is, can the admins turn on snow, make it humid, or stuff like that? Is there any plan for that?
I wouldn't be able to speak on the G portal thing, but again, we're definitely interested in what the community wants. So
So yeah, some other recommendations I received for the server settings for admins of servers is they want more options. Like for example, being able to change the ticket ratios of each side on a certain map. On top of that, being able to switch spawns. So like on Dunker Church, have CSA spawn where USA is, and then have CSA attack. Just a change of scenery. Uh, those changes are stuff recommended by community members like myself. Another question I did have is so G Portal, it costs a lot to get a server. A 200 player server for a year, which I'm pretty sure you can get 300 man from buying a 200 man server if you contact G Portal. But buying a 200 player server costs 1,150 bucks for a year. Has there been any talk for trying to find a way to decrease those prices?
I wouldn't be any part of those discussions at all. Yeah.
Fair enough. So, last question I had about servers. So, when you hop on the game, if you want to join a server that's full, it just kind of says you can't join, whatever. Is there any thought to adding a queue system similar to Hell Let Loose?
Yeah, that's something I've kind of complained about to the team. Just recently, we hit a 400 max, and I couldn't get in. I was livid that I could not get in to watch a 400 player match. But yeah, I've forwarded that as a suggestion that I've heard quite a bit. So that's something that our programmers have at least gotten on their desk to look at.
That is cool to hear. So, now going on to character customization. How do you do character customization stuff that often? Because you do a lot of flag stuff. Do you mess with the character customization, setting all that up that often?
So I'm not the guy that does the setups, but I have been pretty active, I guess, in suggesting what sort of apparel should appear on particular regiments and that sort of thing.
So character customization, the rollout's been kind of slow with it. We normally get one or two regiments per update. Is there any reason why? Is it just take a long time to make sure a private, or I guess any rank in a specific regiment, has all the proper gear that you can choose from?
Yeah, we it slowed down for sure, and I think what it is really is it's just it's kind of one person working customization, and that's a tough task, and to also have to juggle other priorities too. Um, it's been slow, but hopefully we have a bit more pretty soon.
Yeah, and kind of going off course a little bit, is there campfire games? How many people are on the team?
Oh, I think there's maybe 10 people. I don't know the exact number.
Do you know why Campfire Games hasn't tried to expand more? Because I know people in the community have offered help, even for free, and it's been rejected numerous times. Is it just a vision that you guys have that you want to make sure happens, or why won't you expand?
Well, I can't speak to hiring decisions. One thing that I do really appreciate about Campfire Games, though, is that you're right. CG generally does not accept people offering to do work for free. Um, they want to pay people for their work, and that's something that I really appreciate. Um, so, yeah, I can't speak to why we haven't expanded. I'm sure there's budgetary concerns. We're not a studio the size of EA where we can have, you know, 400 people working on horses.
That'd be a crazy world if that were to happen. But no, that's totally understandable. Going back to character customization, though, artillery doesn't have any customization. Any I shouldn't say ETA, but are there any plans to release customization for artillery battery soon?
Yes, yeah, soon.
There. So are there anything else that you guys are planning on adding to character customization? So there's options to edit like your hat or like your jacket and stuff. Will there any will there be any more options for customization like jacket buttons and stuff like that?
Yeah, I suspect it will be expanded quite a bit. I think it'll be expanded quite a bit. That's all I'm at liberty to say right now.
Cool. So let's switch over to artillery. Is Campfire Games, from your knowledge, happy with how artillery is in the game right now?
Well, if you're inviting me to gripe about it, look, our artillery is still under development. There's a lot of things that need to be added and that are in various stages of development. For example, everybody knows it; those guns need rear sights, right? Um, there's a lot of little things like that. Uh, but yeah, we're working on it.
Cool. So one question is a lot of the artillery placements on mini maps are not great. Is there any thought to changing the location of where certain batteries are? Like I think Eastwood Skirmish Union Battery, it's pretty bad. It's not the greatest. Are there any plans to rework where guns are located?
Yeah, I don't think we're fixed on the deployment zones on any map. Really, we're always open to suggestions, and what is normally pretty persuasive to us is if there's a simple historical fact um, that we have something in the wrong place. We put it kind of low on the priority to address it, but we want to know about those things. And also in terms of gameplay, if a battery is in a horrible position, we want to fix that eventually. Fortunately, the community has an advocate for artillery in me on the team because I mostly play artillery.
You definitely need pro artillery people. uh, as one who is not the biggest fan of it. You need both sides. So, some more questions. Cannons and caissons can be flipped over, whether it be rolling on rocks, kind of weird, or getting hit by enemy artillery. Is there any thought to giving a way to players to flip them back over?
Uh, you know, I think it'd be even more cool if they would just blow up.
I
Um,
agree.
so I don't know about flipping them over. That the historian in me kind of winces at that idea. Maybe you could fix a broken tire or something, but I don't know about flipping them over. I think if they get flipped over by accident, then you can pretend that it got blowed up.
Fair enough. Is there any plans to allow players to load double canister?
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would that'd be crazy, especially on a map like Burnside's Bridge or Rivers Crossing. So, per what I've seen in the community forum, some people are saying that the method of loading a cannon is very simplified from the full procedure. Are there any plans to add more steps to the loading cannon process?
That's a great question. You have to think of things as being in balance between gameplay and historical accuracy. So you're absolutely right. There needs to be somebody with a thumb stock blocking uh, that fuse hole in the back of the cannon to keep it from any of the embers blowing up the powder bag when you put in the shell. But you have to ask yourself, um, what is the balance, right? At some point, you kind of go in the negative of exchanging historical accuracy procedure with just being able to play the game, right? Um, I think that's a pretty delicate balance.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. As someone who doesn't have all that knowledge, getting to know artillery when it first came out was relatively simple, and I appreciated that. Last question about artillery. So obviously, you guys have been working on 400 player servers, and as the server cap continues to increase, assuming you guys want to do that, will more guns be placed in the game so that more people can go on artillery to make sure the ratio between infantry and artillery is the same?
My sense from the community is that we have plenty enough cannons as it is. Um, I don't see a huge demand for more cannons, but if we do see that, then that we'll certainly take it into consideration. Antietam was called artillery hell because there were a lot of cannons firing a lot of shells. So we'll see.
Yeah, thank you. So we're going to move on to a broad category now, gameplay, kind of going along with artillery and infantry bullets. So, how far do the developers plan to go with destructible objects in game? As we've seen, fences are now destructible, straight fences, not snake fences. So, what are plans for destructible objects like corn, buildings, snake fences, even terrain, and maybe artillery and caissons blowing up?
Uh, I would love for corn to be destructible. I'm one of those people that can't really stand Miller's cornfield. Um, and when you look at accounts of the battle, that corn should be getting knocked down, right, by all the bullets and everything. Um, but I'm not sure in terms of technical stuff if you can actually have that many stalks of corn being cut down. Um, I would love to see caissons, limbers blow up. I want to see all the fences destructible. I don't think we will probably ever see Dunker Church collapse into a pile of rubble or anything quite like that.
That would be very funny if Dunker Church just every match. I feel like people would stop playing the game to just try to do that. But so, uh, will infantry melee be reworked in the future to have like blocking and parry and that type of stuff? Because it's very simple right now, right? Two stabs, you kill someone. Any plans with infantry melee?
Yeah, that's something that needs to be looked at in time, but it's pretty low on our list of things to work on, or even to think too much about. I do think there needs to be some type of parry. Um, and I'll say it. People have been begging me to say it, even maybe for the flag bearer to be able to simply parry. We will never have flag bearer melee, uh, but some sort of gesture towards self defense, might be appropriate. But it's really low on the list for me as a purist of what this game should look like in terms of linear tactics. I would much rather see melee discouraged in certain kind of ways. I want to see less bayonet charges.
Yeah, fair enough. So the less bayonet charge and stuff, that's why you don't want flags being able to melee. Is there any other reasons why you wouldn't want flags to melee?
Yeah, I mean it's just physically to be able to melee with what is basically a 9.5 foot flag staff is near impossible. These flags tend to be anywhere from 4 feet to 6.5 feet. A lot of them are made in very heavy silk. They're unwieldy. Um, and in the historical record, there's just no evidence that flags were used as lances or anything like that. The finial, the ornament that is on top of the flagstaff, is a very fragile, thin piece of brass. There's nothing about it that could be uh, useful as an offensive weapon. The flag bearer's defense is called a color guard, and that's kind of my position.
Fair enough. So on top of other roles within the game, buglers and drummer boys, they obviously don't do anything in the game right now. They just play some tunes or orders or whatever. But will there be any changes to them to maybe give a slight boost to friendlies around it, like maybe a quicker reload speed? Is there any plans with that?
Well, I can't speak to any plans, but definitely there's something kind of anemic feeling about the musicians to me. Um, they just don't do anything except make noise and irritate people. And if you're trying to do a flank attack, you've got this guy on his bugle letting the enemy know where you are. Um, it could use something, right? I mean, there's something missing. Maybe a slight buff to reload, or maybe a decrease in suppression. There's got to be something that isn't too gamey, though. Um, yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, that's fair. So recently, Buck and Ball has been changed. Originally, it was, I think it's one big shot, and then is it two or three? I think it's three, maybe tiny shots. I don't remember the specifics, but they could go for a long range, and each pellet would kill, and it was a thing of beauty. But then recently, it got nerfed a lot. The drop was decreased by a lot. Past the 40-yard mark, the little pellets wouldn't lethally kill someone, they would just slightly damage them. And now, recently, in the most recent update, they increased the velocity of buck and ball so there wouldn't be as much of a drop off. Is Campfire Games happy where it is now, and why did they change buck and ball?
Well, you can blame me for the initial change. I love me some buck and ball, right? I've killed three guys at probably a range of 200 yards one time, and as fun as it is to have, basically a boomstick, it's just not accurate, right? And I thought it was kind of funny. Some of the same people in the community that have complained about the trajectory of case shot were then complaining about our changes to buckshot, which made it more accurate in terms of trajectory. Um, we'll have to see where it is now, how it plays out. Um, I was glad with the change, though. If we're all really committed to historical accuracy and trying to at least be authentic, um, I'm pretty happy with it.
Fair enough. So, Uh, One other question we did have: will there be any gore updates with the game, especially when it comes to melee, like increased blood when dying, and will there be more death animations added?
It wouldn't surprise me if so. That's probably the best way I can answer that.
Probably a low priority though, very low
Yeah,
priority.
yeah. I imagine the same people that would be working on those animations are currently employed with the horses. Yeah.
Cool. So, one feature that's in Hell Let Loose, right? If someone team kills you, you have the option to punish them or not. Do you think something like that will be put in War of Rights? Because if you team kill 3 people, you're banned for 6 hours. Nothing you can do about it. Um, any thoughts on that?
In terms of adding like a forgive feature.
Yeah, something
Uh,
like that. Someone teams kill, you could
yeah,
be like, don't strike them for it.
yeah. I mean, something like that could be nice to have. Everything that we do though, as far as team damage, and we always have to be thinking about how can this feature be trolled, right? Um, but yeah, a forgive feature would probably be really nice, especially for me because I I hit a lot of friendlies with artillery.
Yeah. Fair enough. So, another question, there's plenty of emotes, emojis, whatever you want to call it, in the game for soldiers, like salute, parade rest, right shoulder shift. Are there any plans to add any more of those?
Um, I think I'm allowed to say yes.
Okay. Uh, is it a low priority? Should we see them anytime soon?
I know. I know that we've got one that's kind of in progress. But again, the animators are going to be focused on horses. Um, so yeah, horses have main priority right now over everything.
That's entirely understandable. So one kind of question animators have we've kind of been talking about that for the past couple of minutes. Is the campfire team like are there just 2 or 3 animators that just do animation and then there's like 1 or 2 people that just do this? Like how is the team set up?
Yeah, the division of labor is kind of for a lot of things. There's one person. Like for me, I'm the one guy who works on flags. Um, we've got one guy working on customization, actually doing the implementation of it. Um, I think we have a couple of animators and a couple of coders, programmers. Uh, but the division of labor is very narrow. We're a small team. We're trying to be efficient with our use of time.
I appreciate that. Some more gameplay questions. Will there ever be an ability to drop your weapon and fight players with your fist?
I was laughing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, I'll never say never on that, but no, that's not something I would be interested in personally.
that would be very funny.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be the new thing, right? I mean,
oh yeah, everyone
yeah,
would just
uh, just everything that the community asks for. You need to first think, what would this look like in a pub match?
oh my
Okay.
goodness. That'd be a thing of beauty. So, when you die in game, any thoughts to adding where your gun is dropped and other players can pick it up? I guess that includes ammo as well.
um, I would like. There's one thing that I do want to see eventually is to be able to look in my cartridge box and see how many rounds I have left. Um, it would therefore make sense to also be able to open up someone else's cartridge box and kind of resupply yourself. I think that would be neat. I don't think it would be silly at all. I don't know about picking up other people's muskets though. That may be a bit much in terms of what we can do performance wise.
Yeah. Another question I did have is so I think each person has 40ish shots. Is there
Yep,
any
40 rounds. Yes,
is
sir.
there any reason behind it?
That is the historical allotment. When you go into battle, you've got 40 rounds.
Oh, cool. S
Now, if we were going to be really particular, like the bucktails would probably be down to 16 rounds there. But yeah, 40 rounds is kind of the standard issue.
oh, that's cool to know. So, next question. Will will players ever be able to pass the flag between themselves?
I don't hate that idea. I won't say never. I don't hate the idea.
Yeah, fair enough. Just play
Again, you have to think, what's this going to look like in a pub
a
match,
ring around the
right?
posy. So one person commented in Field Report 47. I don't know how long ago that was. It was mentioned that the developers are working on new weapon sounds. Are these still being worked on?
I don't know what's going on with the sound team. I haven't peeked in on that in a while, so I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah. So thank you for that. We're gonna move on to game promotion type questions now. So Campfire Games has taken the approach to not advertise their game a whole lot. And what I mean by that is like not giving Steam keys to large YouTubers. You kind of just let the game expose itself with people making videos and such. Is there any reason why you guys decide to take this approach?
Um, well, I can just say, we don't have a massive advertising budget as far as giving out free keys. I don't know, the history behind all of that. I've only been part of the team about 3.5 years, I guess. But I do know that in the very beginning, I think there were a few keys given out, and unfortunately, some of the people that we gave keys to didn't try the game, and so it wasn't a good return for us.
Yeah, that's understandable. Another question: the when the Kickstarter was announced for this game, there was a lot of benefits people could get for supporting the game at a certain price. When will those benefits be added to the game?
Yeah, we want those out pretty soon. We had I think we had kind of said in the crowdfunding text that it would be as the game comes out officially when it's finished. That's when everything will uh, be available. Um, but we haven't forgot about that stuff. Is the thing to say.
Yeah, and speaking of game coming out, when do you guys plan to come out of alpha? Is there a type of roadmap? When do you plan to come out of alpha?
I really don't know. That wouldn't be my call.
Yeah, that's fair. So one thing Trusty did mention in the War of Rights Discord a while ago was he was asking community members thoughts on another way to support the game financially other than a Kickstarter, for example. Have you guys thought about doing things like a Patreon system or like having War of Rights merch or selling DLC art or stuff like that? Have you guys thought of other ways like the ones I just mentioned for helping veteran players of the game support the game financially?
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. It's so cool how many people have approached us and said, "Look, I already bought your game, but I want to help you with more money." That's really cool when people have that much faith in your product. Of course, like I increased my crowdfunder too. Like I get it. We definitely want to do something. We're kicking around some ideas right now. I know a lot of people want a T-shirt, and I do too.
That would be very cool. So now the last category of this is just kind of a broad game development um, as a whole for War of Rights. So does the current state of War of Rights align with the original expectations that you guys had for the game?
Well, it has been kind of neat to see, how has the vision changed. Um, when I started off playing, my understanding was that there was going to be a historical mode, and then as time went on and as development progressed, basically skirmishes is that historical mode. Um, so it is kind of neat to see, how does our game look different than the way it was pitched, you know, a decade ago or however long ago it was. Um, yeah, I'm sorry that may not answer the question at all. But
No, it's that's good enough for me. So speaking of game modes, you guys started with drill camp, then skirmish, and you got conquest and contention. Do you guys plan on adding anything more like a linear mode with multiple capture points, like Hell Let Loose, like the warfare game mode they have, like a siege mode, commander bot battles? Have you guys thought of any new game modes, or do you plan on putting any new game modes in the game?
we kick around a few ideas. I would like to see Picket Patrol revisited,
Forgot about that.
and get some love. Um, yeah.
So one other thing is mentioning about the vision changing. There was a roadmap released in 2018. It's kind of outdated at this point, and people have been asking for a new roadmap. Is there any plans to just release a simple roadmap for the future?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. Maybe I would be a proofreader on that, but yeah, that would not be my call. Uh,
Yeah, fair enough. So you said you kind of came in a little bit later, and so this might you might not know this, but do you know why CryEngine was chosen for this game? And do you know if anyone's ever thought of going to something else like Unreal or Unity?
yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
And that is fair. So throughout my years of playing War of Rights, there's been a constant issue with transparency from the developers. We will sometimes not hear anything about what's being worked on. Sure, we know like horses, a map creator, character customization. We know that stuff is being worked on, but it's not like we hear a weekly or a monthly report from the developers. Is there any reason why the devs don't like to just update us every week or month about the progress of their game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever feel the need to tell people what I'm working on with flags. Um, it's just kind of it's when it's done, then you find out about it. That's just kind of my perspective as a texture artist. As far as CG um, is concerned, you know, I don't know how normal is that for developers to give the community a weekly update. You know, I can think of a few games that I follow, and when you get a patch or an update, that's when you hear from the developers. It's not a constant contact thing. I will say, we've tried to be a lot better about being in touch with you guys. It's not just this interview, but uh, I finally got on the Discord, and so I try to interact with people there. And even in game, I try to talk to people and answer questions, which questions I can answer. Um, we definitely understand that the community wants to hear what we're doing right now, right? We get it.
Would you say another reason as well is because, like mentioned at the beginning of this, you said you don't want to give an ETA on things, so you don't want to put stuff that you're working on and then scrap it, and people will be like, "What the heck?"
Yeah, I mean, my example that I used was even a simple flag. Somebody called me a liar because I said I was going to get a correction done in a week, and it ended up being maybe 2 weeks or something like that. It's just why put a deadline on something like that?
Yeah, that is fair. Speaking of canceling things, have you guys ever worked on something and then scrapped it entirely?
I've had to. But I don't know if there's been anything major that was a huge time sink for us that we just lost everything. I don't know if there's been anything quite like that.
Well, that is. Oh, that's fair. So, are there any plans for implementing a tutorial into game, whether it be the first time you hop on the game, the game's like goes through a drill camp and be like hit B to put on bayonet, or like maybe as you hop on the game, there are like mini pop ups that show you how to play. Any thoughts on implementing a tutorial?
Yeah, I've heard, I've listened to what other people have said, and some players say, I hate that stuff. Stop trying to hold my hand, just let me play the game, right? I'll figure out how to put on a bayonet. um, and then I've heard other people say, I want to spawn into the game and then have a drill sergeant bot tell me you know to do this, that, or the other. I think the community is pretty mixed on that. I don't know. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to add that eventually, but to make it maybe optional for people who want to do it if they want to do it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good compromise. Another question. So, to enhance playability, in which aspects of the game did you need to compromise the most on historical accuracy?
Oh, that's a great question. Artillery would be a big one, I think. Like you said, there's a lot of steps, step by step, to fire a cannon. One of the things that you have to do is you have to reference a table, a range table. Um, I'm kind of I'm on board for torturing the player and making them go to the limber box and dial in manually on the shell how many seconds the fuse will be set to. Um, but I'm not sure that would translate well to a game where you want people to play and have fun. So artillery probably be a big one, I think.
That's quite interesting to hear, especially as someone who doesn't know as much of the gritty details of history. So,
Yeah. So
another.
the way it would work is, you would have your captain or whatever, the battery. He figures a range. Sometimes he'd use a stadia, or other times probably just he would eyeball it and say, "Let's send a shell." Um, about 1,200 yards, adjust to, and then he'd look at the table and tell you how many seconds to dial it in. All of that work happens at the back of the battery by the limber. And then some poor, pitiful soul has to run up to the front of the gun with a shell that is already dialed in. Um, None of this gamey stuff where you put it in the cannon and then it tells you how many yards it's aimed at.
Huh, that's actually crazy. So, uh, I don't know when the company tool was released. All I know is it's very old. Will the company tool ever be implemented into the game or used going forward? Is it just a relic at this point?
Yeah, it's I would love to see integration. I think it's important to um, to really embrace the clan side of the community. Um, I tend to play mostly pubs, but that's a vital part of this game is the organizations. I would love to see some work done with that. Uh, but again, that would be a pretty significant job, and right now we're focused on other stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. So, one other question about the game modes. So, Conquest and Contention. Are there any plans going forward to update or change, like where flag pulls are at, or just how the game works as a whole? Because I know for myself, when I play Conquest, it sometimes just feels like you're running around the whole map, lowering, raising a flag, and then running to the next thing and doing that. And Contention is a big RNG issue. I would prefer something more linear. So, is there any plans to change Conquest and Contention, uh, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think they're still very much in development. We need to give these things a lot of time to play out. Um, because we not only have organized play, but we also have public play, and we need to see how do these game modes work in both conditions. And I don't think those are necessarily finished by any stretch of the imagination. Um, I also kind of like the linear style. I always liked Rush and Conquest to go back to the Battlefield days. Um, but yeah, they're definitely not set in stone.
That is that is great to hear. Another thing that you guys have been working on for a while is 400 player servers. Um, we've been testing them a lot. Is there any reason why they aren't released?
Yeah, it's a stability thing. I don't think we're quite happy yet with where it's at.
Is that more of a like a CryEngine issue, a G portal issue, or a client side?
I'm really not sure where the where the hang up is, um, but it needs a little bit more work.
Fair enough. So obviously 400 players. Does Campfire Games want to go past that?
I'd like to see 1,000 someday. We'll push it as far as it will work. Um, yeah.
That'd be a heck of a day.
By the way, that's not confirmed
Yeah,
1,000 player
yeah,
servers. That's
yeah.
just something I would love to see.
It'd be very cool. I would agree. So, is there any plans to add new types of cannons, guns, or swords into the game?
Well, we've definitely got the models done for more artillery. If I remember right, we had a 24 pounder James. I think we have some 6 pounders done. So it wouldn't surprise me if we eventually see those in action. Personally, I'd love to see a 20 pounder Parrot. Um, so yeah, I don't think we're done there. In terms of small arms, I would love to see maybe some cadet models of maybe a Springfield cadet model. Um, there's definitely more we can add.
That is exciting to hear as well. Another thing, are any new regiments going to be added to the game?
Well, they'll have to be because we are going to do Shepherdstown. It's just a matter of time. Um, so all of you can pull up the order of battle and look at the map and speculate as to which regiments we might go with. But yeah, there'll be more.
So, one of the recent updates, the XP update, originally got a lot of backlash. What was your guys' reaction to the community's backlash on that update?
Well, it's never a good feeling when you work on something and everybody hates it, right? You
Yeah.
don't want to feel that way. Um, we made adjustments, especially with addressing the concern that people had of, what about honoring the time that we've already invested? Nobody with 1,500 hours wants to start off at 0 XP. And we get that. We had to do some hurdles to actually make it work. Um, Mainly, our issue was technical. It was kind of out of our hands to a certain extent, um, but it was a necessary change. I think we were pretty sure that what we were doing, while it wouldn't be popular to begin with, especially with what we were seeing with returns um, and negative reviews, that when it came to pub play, we had to come up with a way that made sense to um, sort of gatekeep who was spawning in with the artillery and who was taking up the officer class. We had to do something about that because it was pretty bad. I mean, some of you guys play pubs with me, and you know what I'm talking about. One officer who doesn't know what he's doing because he just bought the game and is innocently just trying to have fun. Not only ruins the experience for everybody else around him, but he's also getting called names and getting team killed and stuff like that. And it was a bad situation. It was creating refunds and negative reviews. So it's something that we needed to do. So while we certainly felt pretty bad about everyone hating it, at the same time we knew that if we stayed the course and made adjustments, that it would be okay in the end.
Yeah, I'd agree. I really like that update a lot. I mean, when I first got the game, I think my second match I decided to go officer. Terrible decision, uh, but I think in the end it worked out beautifully. Um, Last couple questions for this interview. Is there any plans to add generals in the game? I think there was something on Kickstarter about adding what was the two? I
Hooker
forgot.
and Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah, are those still in the plans?
Yeah, we're kind of kicking around ideas. What's that going to look like? What sort of functionality would a general have? Um, what would you do, right? What would you how would you edify the team? Um, so yeah, they'll be there. We're just not sure what is that going to look like. We're we're not too sure. Again, though, we always welcome the community to kind of speculate and talk about it because we might hear an idea that we like.
Yeah. So there's been releases from Pingu. I think I said that right. Sorry if I said it wrong. But he's been releasing the French mods into the game. If you don't know what those are client side mods. So it's not like everyone else in a server is forced to see British and French stuff. If a player puts those client side files in his game files, he'll see it, but no one else will. What's the Campfire Game stance on mods?
Yeah, we don't support or endorse mods. We've followed along with Pingo. We're very interested in what he's doing and what he's able to do. He's an excellent modeler. His textures look great too. But our position is we don't endorse or support any kind of mod.
Yeah. So the last question I had is, so we've talked about a lot of priority, like horses are top priority and stuff like that. What would you say is the top 5 priority things that Campfire Games is working at right now?
Horses, for sure. Optimization is a big one. Little little things in the UI have really bugged me, and so I'm trying to slowly take care of missing icons and that sort of thing. Um, Little things like that, I think, go a long way in terms of the look and feel and polish of the game. Um, Character customization is a big thing, and yeah, I think improving the contention and updating picket patrol, things like that. Yeah, it's a lot longer list when I start to think about it.
Yeah, no, that's entirely fair. Well, that's all the questions I had. Again, thank you to the community for sending all those questions my way. I hope a lot of those were answered. Again, I'd like to thank Bradley for being here. Myself and a lot of people will appreciate this greatly, as it's not like opportunities like these shows up every once in a while. Is there anything you would like to plug or say before we call it a day?
No, I'll say thanks for having me on. I'm always glad to just chat with people about War of Rights. This is a passion project for us. Um, this is not just a job to me. It's something that I'm very committed to seeing finished and have it be um, something that is lasting and has enduring, lasting power. So yeah, anytime you want me to hop on the show, I'd be glad to do it.
Well, I appreciate it. After this stream is done, I'll put the official War of Rights Discord link and the link to the Steam page for War of Rights. And with that all being said, thank you all for tuning in. I hope a lot of your questions were answered. Please like, comment, share, subscribe for more. Join our Discord and support us on Patreon, where you can get behind the scenes videos and videos before everyone else. I'm also going off to college tomorrow, so I won't be broadcasting for a while. If you want to broadcast on this channel events, it'd be a great help. Message me on Discord. And yeah, with that being said, thank you, Bradley. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're informed. With that being said, have a great night or day, everyone, wherever you're at. See you in the next one.